Ladies and gentlemen of the crypto space, we're live on a Friday, October 15th at 11:36 a.m. and it's a heck of a day. We saw a tip of the hat, a little bit of a foreshadow yesterday with like an SEC news post on Twitter that was like, oh, they're talking about a Bitcoin ETF. And lo and behold, today we see some NASDAQ filings and pretty much an obvious tone to the communications that, yeah, the ETF is going to launch probably really quickly. And I'm looking at a NASDAQ document right now. And I'll show you guys the second we pop over to the main screen. It looks like Tether also settled with the CFTC. Um, and that's in Bitcoin land. We're going to look at the Bitcoin chart, which is basically looking glorious. And then we're going to put all this into a bit of a story of what is the better opportunity. What is Bitcoin as an opportunity? And what are our choices and options of where we deploy capital in a space that has opportunity overload? Nobody knows where the best place to deploy capital is because there's opportunities everywhere. And we have the rotation. People think they could sell an altcoin to get into Bitcoin, to watch Bitcoin appreciate because everyone knows, as history tells us, as Bitcoin appreciates, the altcoins depreciate. Oh, the rotation trade. But we didn't have LP positions back in 2017 and 2018 where you could capitalize on the rotation trade by being the bank and providing liquidity to the markets that are actually trading from altcoins to Bitcoin and back. Because when they go over, they will come back. And you're going to have the potential to convert that volatility, that capital flow, that velocity into transaction fees, into a revenue stream. Is that the most lucrative revenue stream? Probably not. Are you going to probably want to try that position at some point? Probably yes. Are you going to want to exit that position at some point? I almost guarantee it. So, as I've told a lot of people on AskFit lately, there is no perfect portfolio. You're never going to be able to deploy to the best position. You have a market of how many people nowadays that are always trying to find the best position. So, what does that mean for a person that thinks the way I think? There is no best position. So, if you can't always have the best position, what can you find? And that's what I think about. Never going to have the best position. So, how do you engage with the market? It always makes you want to exchange one position for another. Are we going to be the rotator? Always rotating? Or maybe the allocator, which is more so what I align myself with. What's the difference between a rotator and an allocator? Let's pop it over to the main screen and see who's in the stream today. Got Igor's in the house. A pleasure. The Crypto Yogi, Foo Bear, Killis, Shishk, Encoder from Portugal. It's a pleasure. F Dub. I'm speculating on Arbitrum airdropping users using platform early. What would you do? I'm not thinking about that. And what I do is I'd probably wait for my daughters to get out of school, take them to a buffet, and get some dinner. I'm not, point being when I say things like that is I'm not rotating. I've had my positions for a long time now. My core portfolio has been the same for quite a while. And that's kind of the way I tried to start the stream. I know everyone's probably like, what's the best position? And I see that sentiment from the questions on AskFit. And this is exactly what I went through in 2020. And people are probably going through this right about now. 50% yield here, 80% yield there. Oh no, the 80% turns to 50%, and 100% turns up over there. And how the hell do you factor in Olympus Dow and Wonderland cranking out 5,000% and Wonderland 40,000%? How do you factor in all of these very exorbitant numbers and rates of return as compared to the good old bank account of 0.01%? Up on the screen, I have the Nasdaq filing. So Valkyrie's Bitcoin ETF for futures products looks like it's very much coming soon. It's not a matter of if, it's when. I think it's going to come quicker than most people realize, and we quite see that front running in the Bitcoin price. It breached 60,000 a little bit earlier, and it's pulling back. So the last thing you want to do is think to yourself, oh my God, it's breaking 60,000. It's going to go higher. It's going to go higher. Then it pulls back, and you're like, oh no, I got to go to another position, not Bitcoin, maybe an altcoin, maybe an LP position to protect the capital, protect the downside. And that's the rotator, always trying to find the best position. When I see this Bitcoin price going up, I just see more collateral. Because what does Bitcoin do? What can it do in price? Oh, it goes to 120 grand. You make 1x on your money. When you got assets like Spell, which have ripped 30x in the last month and could potentially do whatever speculatively in the coming months, considering what it actually does technologically and functionally from a financial perspective. Back over 60 grand. I see collateral. I see pristine collateral because when big boys and folks are buying Bitcoin, what does the Bitcoin do for them? They could borrow against it. They could store their capital in Bitcoin and borrow equity or consume the equity, collateralize the Bitcoin to extract the equity and put that capital to work, generating actual returns, revenue streams. Now, unless you're got 10, 100, $1 billion, 10, 100 million, or $1 billion, you probably not going to want to store too much capital in Bitcoin. Now, that's my sentiment, and it's not a recommendation. It's just the way I feel about Bitcoin. It's a great value storage vehicle for into the future, but if you're trying to grow your capital, Bitcoin is not going to grow your capital at this point. You put $1,000 into Bitcoin, not going to get anywhere with that. You could sure the $1,000 is probably going to be worth $3, $4, $5,000 in the coming years. That's again not going to get you anywhere, but it'll protect that $1,000. It'll protect it because it's going to retain the value and grow the value much more so than anything in legacy finance could offer. But it's not going to produce a revenue stream. It's not going to produce asymmetric returns. I guess 1x and 2x are asymmetric returns in legacy finance, but not really considering what's been going on in the equities market. So it's not the biggest outperformer. It serves its purpose. It has its function as a store of value and a source of collateral. Rotator. Let's keep it going. Lewis is in the house. A pleasure. Thanks for the continuous education. Yeah, it's nonstop, my man. It's nonstop. And there's no answers. And that's the most important thing that I do with my YouTube compared to other people. There's no answers to any of these questions. Just conversation about an endless, endless questions about what to do, why to do it, how to do it. Opportunity overload. Oh, yeah. Crypto bets. Hey, Noah, what web browser do you use when using Ledger? I use Brave. Yeah, you need to use Ledger Live. You're going to have to use that on anything. Ledger Live opens the WebSocket, and that's because of Chrome modifications. Brave uses Chrome, and that's what Google chose to do with Chrome, and you now have to use the Ledger Live WebSocket. Encoder, I'm accumulating CRV, Matic, and some Ethereum for the near future. I like those assets, and I think they all have a narrative to be told about them individually. Each one. You guys know what I think about Curve. I think this is just a matter of time. I think Curve is an MMT currency producer. It prints capital that's constantly flowing into the market. That's a salary and income for many people. It's valuable, and I think it's appreciating, which is profound because it's hyperinflationary, but it's net disinflationary with transitory periods of deflation. That is an unprecedented monetary policy by all historic standards. And if this continues to do what it does, this will be studied and it will be historic. This is not just an opportunity, this is an experimentation that is day by day proving to be historic. A hyperinflationary currency that is not debasing to nothingness. It went through its initial hyperinflation period. That's the first leg. This chart tells an entire story. This was pure hyperinflation right here. And this was DeFi summer. There's a little bit of stabilization. There was nothing left to sell. Everyone sold everything. So it stabilized for like 5 minutes. It was like 2 months, a month. And then we went through DeFi summer, rational exuberance all over the place. And then much of this was the Bitcoin crash, where the whole market got liquidated. It's like the periods of appreciation and depreciation have compressed. It's not years anymore, I don't think. I believe this was an entire cycle that played out in a matter of months, in a fraction of a year. And it's just obvious we're back above the TWAP on the weekly. On the daily looks good as well. Daily has a little bit more volatility going above and below TWAP, but it's this region, this price action region of volatility that has me fascinated from historic standards as well. So it goes back here, but now we're stuck in it again, but except now we're stuck in it just below historic resistance. I mean, you get one fat daily candle and you bump to like $3.30. You break out, retest higher high. If there's a trifecta, of trifecta of bullishness, as I historically define it, that's going to be really cool. And I'm pretty sure it's inevitable right about now. And this is a heck of a position to be in. So, folks looking at the Bitcoin chart, thinking about a rotation to Bitcoin because it's going to keep going up. At some point, this is going to be a heck of a juicy chart. Convex as well. Bounced right off the 50 SMA on the daily. That was a heck of a run up to 1878, give or take. And the healthy retrace. Whether it's a bottom or not, I like to see like an inverted hammer on the bottom. This is obviously a hammer. Maybe we have a price action reversal. The hammer can be it. We have to wait for the next daily candle. We'll know over the weekend. We'll see if, for instance, tomorrow, if it closes above, like above right about there, this is CVX denominated in Bitcoin. That's why the price point is a little skewed. But if it closes above the hammer, that'll be a nice confirmation of price action trend reversal. That's kind of like what we see here on Spell. Let's go out to the daily. We had massive appreciation. Obviously, the blow up top. Obviously, the shooting star in all regards. And here we had the inverted hammer. And if you go out, is it the weekly? No, that's useless. But what's nice is that following up from the inverted hammer, we have basically a doji where you have both sides of giant wicks. So it was previously a pretty big hammer because the price action was all the way up here at 1.79 cents. So we have 8 hours for candle body close on the daily. If it closes above the 10 SMA, I would consider that confirmation of an inverted hammer, which is a price action trend reversal. So we were coming from depreciation. Inverted hammer signifies potential trend reversal back to the upside, and a close above the 10 SMA. Dare we close above the top of the wick of the inverted hammer? If we close any, like 1.6, 1.7 cents, that'd be really cool to see. But that's from like a trading perspective. Um, but we don't talk about trading. We don't talk about rotation on this stream. So entries are probably the common topic, or a good topic to focus on with regard to spell. I don't encourage rotation, but more so, and I'm not good at entry seeking either. So I don't know what to encourage. I encourage proper position sizing and taking less risk. Let me answer some questions before I stammer and stutter all over myself. Foo Bear, Encoder, I'm accumulating. Well, I hit your question. Fullbear, yep. Taiki, in the 2 months I've been aware of him, has rotated from Polygon to Avex, to Phantom, and now Terra, and others. I mean, how many basis points are those bridges? Oh, yeah, and as well as the slippage and the transaction fees. It accumulates pretty good. But he's getting his experience, and I've been there. I did my rotations back in March, April, May, June, July, August, September of last year. I was certainly a rotator. But there comes a point where you no longer want to do that, and you want to sit back and relax and be an allocator. That's the difference. You allocate the positions that have much longer time horizon. You can rotate, but when you extend the time horizon and you're not doing it ferociously or just seeking the best opportunity, there's more strategy and more due diligence applied to the positions. That's more of an allocator, as I define it. Alex, hey man, you kind of remind me of a crypto Andrew Dice Clay. Man, he was awesome. Everyone loves Andrew Dice Clay. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. On S spell, and how do you take a salary from that without capital gains taxable event? You can't. There's no such thing as a salary without paying income tax. You pay income tax. That's it. There's always tax. So that's a big thing with regard to rotation. Capital gains. I have no interest in capital gains. I have interest in paying income tax. I happen to be in a tax friendly jurisdiction, Florida, which has no state income tax. So that's basically identical to short term capital gains. And it substantially simplifies tax reporting. I have a top line. I have my income, how much income I made. Food for thought. From a tax strategy, there's also no perfect way to play this stuff. It's hella complicated. Opportunity overload, boys and girls. um, Foubert, Andrew, Trame, you borrow against it a modest amount and let it pay itself through appreciation, then do it again. Yeah, so if your yield on a debt position pays more than the interest on the debt position, it's a self-paying debt. So that's kind of what I have for SBEL. I took like 10% LTV, loan to value ratio, and it's cranking out probably more gains than is currently displayed, especially with yesterday's volatility triggered liquidations. I believe Ohm was liquidated significantly. There's probably going to be a heck of a Merlin candle coming for Spell. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a couple of $1 million. Uh, at one point they said like 1.8 was coming in just from debt payments. I believe this was this week. So if you have another like 2 or 3 mil in liquidations, you could have a $3, $4, $5 million Merlin candle, which should be probably bump us right up over 2 cents again, all in one shot. That'd be pretty crazy, and that's coming inevitably either next couple of days, I would imagine. That's going to be crazy to watch. Encoder, Polygon has good opportunities. Just look around. I've rotated between blockchains and back to Polygon. Of course, Polygon's great. Plenty of opportunities. It's endless. Phantom, Avalanche Rush, Arbitrum is still hot. And now that you can get your capital off Arbitrum quickly using any swap, it's a heck of a playground. Barry F. Hello, Noah. Great job. Thank you very much. Trying to keep up. I got so many ask vids. It doesn't stop. And I love it. I hope I'm helping with answering these questions. And I know there's more questions that are being asked. It's never ending. So go ahead, ask your questions, and I will get to all of them as fast as I possibly can. There's a huge list at this point of questions that have been answered. So just like with my YouTube library of probably 400 videos at this point, this thing is going to grow quickly. So there's a huge amount of content that hopefully will give context, answers, and that's the thing. I hope it doesn't give answers. I want it to spur thought and more questions than answers. I want my answers to create more questions because answers really aren't what you guys should be seeking. You should be seeking things that make you think deeply about how complicated this stuff is. There's no perfect portfolio. I promise you that. Promise. Um, Dylan, Noah, my man, missed you recently. Yeah, I was off yesterday and the day before. Wednesday, just took a little bit of time to myself, and yesterday I had the fly to New York, which was a fascinating experience. F-Dub, I always wonder what you mean when you kill tabs to save memory. Do you mind explaining? Yeah, I just use this. Um, what is it called? The Great Discarder. Very useful. Uh, it saves a huge amount of memory. Um, and the tabs. So this is an experimental feature part of Chrome. I've gone over this in a couple of videos historically, but I this is my primary setup, how I organize my tabs, and it helps. RAM and memory and computers are another story. 64 gigs. We entered a 64 gig world. I'm running at 52 gigs right now in memory used. Wow, I hit swap. For the first time, I hit a little bit of swap. 228 megs of swap being used with a 64 gig machine. I should have went with the 128 gigs and called it a day, and it would have been good for the next couple of years. More lobby. Always a pleasure catching a stream. It's always a pleasure to have been caught on a stream. Dan Man, Noah, good morning. Did you take advantage of the ohm time dips to establish a position? No, I don't need exposure to ohm and time. I'm more interested in them from a monetary policy standpoint rather than a capital appreciation perspective. I don't need a position in everything I want a position in. I'm absolutely tantalized by what a bond does to the crypto space. Because what Olympus Dow did with his bonding mechanism is replicate the historic sovereign Federal Reserve commercial banking uh, capital flow process with reserves. And to top it all off, that manifests bonds and the building of a treasury. So they literally, the last time anyone's seen a monetary policy like Olympus Dow and Wonderland, derived from Olympus Dow, is at the sovereign level. There's no one has ever done anything like this before, especially in DeFi. This is all brand new, and you couldn't really do this anywhere but DeFi. So this is like free banking back in the day, whenever that period of time in history was. But they could never do anything like this. Um, they just couldn't. This is all novel stuff in historic standards. Absolutely extraordinary. Dan Man, that weekly. Which one on Spell? That is a heck of a weekly candle. A half a cent to 15 cents. Well, 1.5 cents. That's 300% on the weekly. Remarkable candle. More. Considering the wick, it's 400%, 500% weekly candle. Wow. That's a heck of a weekly chart. I am on the edge of my seat for this candle today. This was a heck of a run up, and we didn't know how much folks are going to want to sell, but the narrative is strong. I don't know why anyone's selling. They're selling because they play capital gains and they're short sighted, and they're going to have to fork over a huge amount of capital gains and protection payments. Taxes. I call it protection payments, by the way, if you guys know from Twitter, my tweets. But this is beautiful. I look forward to seeing this close over the 10 SMA. The 10 SMA. Oh, that's an extraordinary SMA for this to have found support on. Extraordinary. Critical Mass is in the house. Hilda, a pleasure. I hope my questions on AskFit help. I know they provide more questions rather than answers, but that's kind of where we are. There's no perfect portfolio ever. Andrew, I guess I meant how do you know how much spell you have made per week to skim off of? Well, spend less than you make, and hopefully there's other revenue streams, so you only take profits. I mean, if are you making 10 grand a week? Are you making 5 grand a week? I mean, if you're making like $100 a week, do you really need to take the profits? probably best to speculate that in 5 to 10 years, these markets are going to be 100 times the size. And instead of $100 a week, your same position is going to be generating $10,000 a week or $1,000 a week. So there's no point in taking profits if it's like $100 a week. You might as well compound that or just let it ride. That spell is auto compounding and check back in a couple of years. If these protocols do continue to do, not even just do what we think they're going to do, just continue to do what they're currently doing, it's going to be extraordinary in the next decade. Andrew, pleasure. J4KA, hello, Noah. Tell us your thoughts on Cosmos. Cosmos hits the China narrative for me, particularly with IrisNet. And I think we know China's doing permissioned blockchain systems, and I'm sure it's going to be fully integrated with their digital yuan. So long term, 5 to 10 years, I have a 5-year, 10-year bag of Atom and IrisNet and the Osmosis airdrop. I didn't buy any of that stuff. That was just free with it. That was a massive airdrop. They airdrop. So let's say you had like 200 grand worth of Atom. They literally gave you 100 grand worth of Osmosis. I believe the Osmosis airdrop was the largest airdrop. Maybe DYDX beat it out, but surely like Uniswap 1 inch, those were small potatoes compared to DYDX and what Osmosis dropped. Crazy airdrops. The China narrative is a big deal, but that's long term. That's 5, 10 years. So clearly, a 5, 10 year play isn't going to be the majority of your portfolio. You can have extreme volatility between now and 5 to 10 years from now. So position size accordingly. Watch your time horizons, and you know those long term time horizons are meaningful, but it can't be the majority of your portfolio. That's just a way to have a lot of heartburn. Dylan, does any swap connect to optimism too? That's really annoying me right about now because I had a bunch of synthetics on optimism and I withdrew it, but I have no idea where the hell it is. So it was about 10 grand worth of synthetics, and it's just really annoying the crap out of me. So I have to spend some time trying to figure out where that capital is. I don't think so. There's nothing on optimism right about now. The only thing I know that played around with optimism really is synthetics. Hilda Aspids are pretty cool. I like it. Like a one-on-one 24-hour stream. It's good stuff. Dan, morning. Can you please talk a little bit about Pickle CVXCRV? Well, Pickle's cool. I wouldn't mind a dill position. If you're looking to auto compound your CVXCRV, Badger's obviously much further ahead. Pickle, don't discount it. It's interesting positions. I'm not deployed to Badger nor Pickle. Um, I don't have a recommendation, and I never provide recommendations. These are very interesting platforms, especially their history. Badger and Pickle have had their share of successes and failures, and they're still there, and they're iterating and they're working, and the protocols are functional. So you'll take a position and you'll end up wanting to take another position. You'll put some capital in Pickle and you'll be like, all right, Badger seems cool too. And then you'll have a position in Badger, and then you'll see a better position over there. Bancor, I don't know. But what are they? They're interesting positions. If you end up taking a position, think about time horizon. Only take a position if you really want to stick with it, and then allocate to something else after a reasonable amount of time passes and you've determined that there's a better position. But try and avoid being a rotator. Oh, today I take a position, then tomorrow I take another position, and tomorrow I'm bridging, and I'm bridging here, I'm bridging there, I'm rotating here. Oh, that'll just give you a headache. Don't do it to yourself. Derek, hey Noah, just joined. Did you talk about Ohm? What are your thoughts on it? Ponzi falling apart? Certainly not. I think it's going to be extremely volatile, but I think it has legs. I don't own ohm nor time. I'm not interested in the volatility, but I love the bonding mechanism, and I definitely think the monetary policy is fascinating and novel in all regards. How will Danny Coin hold up during increasing Bitcoin dominance? Well, Bitcoin dominance, I think, is overrated. I think in 5 to 10 years, all these markets are going to be 100x the size. I think, as I started the stream and the title of the stream, I think Bitcoin is collateral. People are going to rotate to Bitcoin and rotate back. So I think that's a silly process of selling altcoins to rotate to Bitcoin because you're going to have huge capital gains expenses. You have to pay your protection fees. So Danny Coin spell, Danny Coin. Well, try crypto is a position that's leverageable on Abracadabra. So I think it's going to generate a fair amount of revenue because people are going to want that try crypto exposure because they are allocators rather than rotators. And they're not necessarily rotating to Bitcoin just to come back. So they want to allocate to Bitcoin and Ethereum, dollar stabilized, try crypto position. So folks may flood try crypto, and that generates revenue for the protocol, which gives us Merlin candles, which is obviously the buy pressure on Spell and the revenue stream for SPEL stakers. So I think it's appreciative. I think Bitcoin ripping and going to where I think it's going to go is going to be extremely bullish for the altcoin space. I have no interest in rotating to Bitcoin. Hilda, thank you so much. Frog Nation. Yeah. Ribbit. Chris, new viewer enjoying the stream and AskVids, saw the light on income generation. Old school dividend methodology applied to the crypto space, disintermediation of legacy financial infrastructure, be the bank, provide liquidity to Forex markets. You don't need exposure to volatile assets. You can literally just operate in stablecoins and have a savings account that outperforms debasement significantly. Changes everything. It really does. So many folks enter the crypto space and they're like, what am I going to buy? And I'm like, stop trying to buy things. You don't need to buy volatile assets. You're not prepared for the volatility. Don't have the experience. You get hit with a 30% dip and you're going to freak out. If someone coming in with 10 grand that has no idea what they're doing, bought 10 grand at 2.5 cents, and they're probably freaking out right about now at 1.5 cents because that's a lot of money lost. But they're thinking in dollar denominated terms. They had the wrong position size, and you don't want to be too diversified, but you got to watch your position size. My entire portfolio isn't Spell. Well, the position size has become extremely skewed considering my entry point, but that's another story. No, I've told you guys, and you guys know that 90% of my portfolio is 6 assets. So, you know, it's a strange feeling when you feel comfortable concentrating your capital. It's kind of like we come full circle. I'm telling you guys that new people come in and they buy like one asset and it's like a moonshot. And then you start to diversify because I talked to you guys about optimal portfolio management and position sizing. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to diversify to protect my capital. You don't know what asset's going to go up and what asset's going to go down. But then once you get experience with the landscape, you're able to stomach or digest and process the volatility. I've gone full circle to a relatively concentrated portfolio. It's strange thinking about where it started, how it played out, and where I've come to with regard to how I deploy the portfolio. 6 assets, 90% of the portfolio. I'll give you guys a quick breakdown. I know there's a couple more questions and I got to jump off. I got some work to do, but I'll give you guys my percentages. Spell literally was 8% of the portfolio, 6%. It was a 6% play Spell has become 45% of the portfolio. That doesn't mean sell all your stuff and take 45% of a portfolio size for the position. Oh my God. But that's where it was. That was what played out, and that's where it is. So that's my current portfolio. Does not indicate what folks should be buying, but it does tell my story. I guess if maybe I shouldn't even tell you guys my portfolio balance because it's not necessarily um, the, a course of action that people should take. But curve has been relatively horizontal. That's if you remember, it was about 50%, 55% of the portfolio for a while. But with Spell's outperformance, it's become 32% of the portfolio. ICE really ripped it a good 5, 6x. So that's about 8.38% of the portfolio. Ren's still up there with my three dark nodes. Ren VMs at 5.9%, Cosmos 3%, FXS 2.8%, and then the smaller assets. Those were the top six, but very concentrated. Predominantly, I mean, Spell was literally like 6 to 8% of the portfolio. That's an extraordinary. It really turned the entire thing on its head, and I had to adjust how I really think about time horizon and conviction. Crazy sauce. But as I told you guys, if 1% of the portfolio turns to 10%, it changes everything. And when it changes everything, you have to incorporate the implications. So I had about 6 to 8% that turned to 50%. What does that mean? Well, I'm not going to sell something that's outperforming to buy something that's not, that's underperforming. I mean, even Michael Saylor says stuff like that, but you sell the losers and buy the winners. Not so easy, very complicated. Dylan, Noah, can you do an updated video all about the China narrative? But the China narrative's it's long term, so everything I've always talked about the China narrative is exactly the way I feel about it today. China, to understand the China narrative is just the BSN. Twitter, look up the BSN. The BSN is built by the state-run telecommunications companies and tech companies, pretty much. So the BSN basically is a state-run company in almost all regards based on how we know their system operates. And the BSN is intent on providing infrastructure, business tools, and utilities from a digital perspective, blockchain technology perspective. And the BSN has Ethereum, Polkadot, and IrisNet integrated. Go figure, IrisNet. But IrisNet is a Cosmos hub. Cosmos has IBC, has the Stargate protocol, which means every single Cosmos hub is seamlessly interoperable with every single Cosmos hub. And a Cosmos hub is basically a blockchain. They're all blockchains. So, and they're all interoperable. So if you have IrisNet integrated into the BSN, you have Cosmos and all the Cosmos hubs integrated into the BSN. So that's the whole narrative. And probably the biggest part of the narrative is that they banned Bitcoin because they need to control their economy. They're going through all that mess with debt and with regard to Evergrande, and it's extremely bad. It doesn't look good. So they want to try and control the system. They want permission systems. They want capital controls, and that's the path they're taking. So I think that to understand the China narrative, you really just need to look at the BSN and what they're doing. And I find that quite fascinating with a 5 to 10 year time horizon. Dan, you asked in the Ask Vid to remind you to talk about overflow of noise in the DeFi space. So here's the reminder. I mean, it just doesn't stop. The noise is everywhere. You have no idea what to buy, what to sell, what to allocate to. Because if you're allocating too frequently, you're not allocating, you are rotating. And we want to avoid that. And I want to actively encourage people to avoid being the rotator because we can do better. We could allocate with meaningful time horizons to positions that pay us. We could grow our value. We could save our money. You don't have to buy volatile assets. I mean, literally, think about it like this. Think about an average Joe They get a paycheck, $1,000 a week, puts money in a bank account. The paycheck goes into a bank account. Um, what does it take for that person to acclimate to putting that $1,000 going into Aave at 5% interest and operating off Aave? So how do you operate off Aave? You have your BlockFi crypto debit card, swiping your credit card. How do you pay your bill? You take capital out of Aave, you convert it to GUSD, you send it to Gemini. Gemini goes to the bank account, you pay your bill. Or you could have a crypto.com credit card. I don't know where mine is. It's somewhere around here. And you could pay your bill. You could reload the crypto.com debit card with value right out of Aave. Now, it's obviously overwhelming, but you could operate in the crypto space. It's overwhelming because it's new. It's not just a traditional bank account, but these are banking systems. It's banking infrastructure. It provides you yield, money market opportunities, credit, permissionless credit. I mean, that's the whole interesting thing of a credit union is it's much friendlier with regard to credit as compared to the large bank names. So there's all these struggles and burdens in legacy finance, and they're not existent in the crypto space. There's no questions asked. If you want a mortgage for a home, click a button in the crypto space, which is exactly what many folks saw Messi do. Basically, that was a mortgage. He used abracadabra for a mortgage. Think about the DeFi space as you would the legacy financial system. And a lot of the shit, almost everything I could think of in the legacy financial system, you could do in the DeFi space. So there's that wonderful analogy at play. Mitch, we can do better. Yes, we can. You know we can. We'll keep doing these streams and we'll figure out how to do better together. Kill us protection fees. It's protection fees. Listen, the mafia, if you don't pay your protection fee, they're going to bust up your store. If you don't pay your protection fee to the U.S. government, they're going to repossess your store. They're just going to foreclose on the property or take it from you or put a lien on it. If you don't pay it, it's not going to be good. It's protection fees. Dan, can you please also talk a little bit about VE curve? I'm a little foggy on that play. Well, VE curve is the fundamental monetary policy component of the curve platform. It's their governance position. You lock your capital for 1 to 4 years, you lock your curve for 1 to 4 years, and it gives you voting rights as well as ownership of a portion of the curve revenue stream. So I was one of the original participants in the curve platform. I remember when they first launched the DAO, and actually I was one of the first REN liquidity providers for REN BTC. Point being, I've been in curve so long that I actually have a VE curve position. Now, nowadays, I don't think a VE curve position is too interesting. CVX CRV is just too powerful of a derivative. But I have a VE curve position that cranks out probably about $9,000 a year, give or take. So I have $371 that I could claim, and that would be claimed in 3 pool tokens, which are dollar stable coins. But I could also go over to the DAO. I could go over to the DAO and I could vote. I can vote rather than voting vis-a-vis convex. I have, with a VE curve position, a capacity to vote on the raw curve proposals. That's what VE curve offers. Love this user interface. So many folks have a distaste for it, but I find it downright nostalgic. Quantified. Hey Noah, what are the options to maximize yields as a spell holder and staker? You don't need to do anything. You just hold S spell. That's it. That's the whole position. The biggest burden with the DeFi space is overthinking it and like, what am I missing out on? What am I missing out on? You guys know the definition of that emotion. It's FOMO. No mo FOMO, boys and girls. Don't need to maximize shit. You don't need to make as much money as possible. That's what I've learned. I have no interest. If I'm missing out on something right now, okay. I'm very comfortable with my positions. Oh, I could make it 50% more if I bridge to Polygon and put it in an LP position. Okay, that's cool. Am I going to do it? Nope. Instead of fearing missing out, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to miss out. I'm going to miss out. And maybe that makes me actually feel a little bit good. I'm turning down an opportunity. I don't need to bridge shit. You don't need to do as much as you think you need to do. For a spell position, you take a couple. Spell rips 10x or 100x from here, and you have 1% of your portfolio. 1%. You turn 1% into 10%, or 1% into 30, 40, 50%, like what happened with my position. Changes everything. Don't need large positions to really change your entire portfolio. Don't need to take the risk that so many new entrants to the crypto space unfortunately take. Z-Girl G. I don't know what that means, but I like the letter G also. Igor, so we're clear with Tether. Tether looks good. So I don't like it as a product. I mean, you got to know what they do. They take shit from legacy finance, all the garbage, the bonds, the debt, and just shit. And it's worth money. The shit is worth money. And they turn it into dollar stablecoins. Okay, so that's their business. Literally, that's it. There's not much to think about. So, is it a good stablecoin? Eh. Is it a functional stablecoin? Yes. If the debt blows up, there's a margin call and they got to recollateralize. Might throw off peg a little bit. Whoopie do. The positions will be recollateralized. It'll go back on peg. This is a boomer stablecoin. That's it, folks. Folks are fearing Tether, but really, what I see is just a boomer stablecoin. It's like, all right, is it interesting? Am I going to use it? Am I going to take some bonds and debt and commercial paper and get some Tether? Fuck no. It's just a boomer product. You want an interesting stablecoin? That's the whole thing with Abracadabra. Yes, we are clear with Tether. Hilda, Lil Ice TA. Yeah. There's nothing much to TA with ICE. It's illiquid, completely illiquid. It's pre-launch. We'll know probably in a week or two. But that's the big thing. What's been going on with Spell, what Daniel's been doing is especially getting on the FTX and setting up market makers and all this fancy shit that he's working on. Is you want a liquid market. This is the epitome of an illiquid market. There's no price action. There's no volatility. There's no nothing. But if you look at Spell's moving. And Spell is moving much more than it was anywhere along this appreciative leg. There's no liquidity for ICE. It could go down, it could go up, and there won't be buy pressure, counter price action. No one's buying dips. This is just an illiquid asset. About 8-9% of the portfolio for me right about now. VO, last couple questions. Noah, I have 6 Ethereum, nearly 1 Bitcoin, and $40,000. I'm wanting to start one of your pizza shops, but I'm leery I should because regulatory policy regarding what? Dollar stablecoins? Well, your Ethereum position and your Bitcoin, there's really no regulatory concerns at all. And I don't see any regulatory concerns with dollar stablecoins. They kind of need them considering the global dollar shortage. So what you want to do is figure out how to put those assets to work. You have equity in your Ethereum, you have equity in your Bitcoin, and you have functional stablecoins, whatever your choice is. You're about to embark on a path, a journey through the dark forest, filled with FOMO and mystery and fear and doubt and excitement. Ooh, it's a tale. It's a story. And you see, I talk about every once in a while the new persons, and bam, my man, you got a lot of shit you're going to encounter trying to figure this stuff out. it's overload. There's an overload. Whatever you do, take your time. Ask me questions on AskVid. Here's the URL, noahsplays.askvid.co. I'll help the best I can, but it's definitely opportunity overload. And you're in a good position because you're concentrated with Ethereum, Bitcoin, and dollars. So you don't need to, I got to move stuff here. I got to move stuff there. So stay with your conviction where you are and figure out, what am I going to do with my dollars? I can earn 30% of my dollars. What about transaction fees? Maybe I don't want to operate on Ethereum L1. Can I get 30, 40, 50% of my dollars on Arbitrum, Avalanche, or Phantom? Yeah. So how do I do that? So now you have a technological boundary you have to overcome and figure out how to bridge that capital. So, but you have to also be comfortable with the stablecoin of choice. You can't have anxiety over your position. So you have to acclimate to the DeFi space. This is going to be a process. So start slow, very slow, because the first thing you need to overcome is that anxiety. Can't engage with this space being anxious about positions that you take, because then you're just going to get killed with transaction fees. Take a position, you're going to rotate to another position. Anxiety creates the rotator. Definitely look up the rotator meme. Don't be the rotator. Alan, what's the most capital efficient way to get fiat into Curve on Phantom, Arbitrum for stablecoin yields? Trying to use DeFi as my savings account. My man. That's right. I get the great yields on Curve and Abra farming. You're going to get hit with Ethereum L1 bridging costs. So capital from a bank account, ACH to Gemini, Gemini to GUSD, GUSD will be in the MetaMask or your ledger, and GUSD on Curve to MIM to AnySwap, AnySwap to Arbitrum. And once you're on Arbitrum, it's a couple of bucks a transaction. So that's probably all in all. The ACH is, I believe, free on Gemini. The GUSD is going to be a trivial conversion, GUSD. So you're going to get hit with the GUSD to MIM conversion on Curve. So you're looking at probably, like, depending on gas, that could be about $100 worth of transaction fees to convert GUSD to MIM. You're also going to get hit on slippage. There might be some slippage. There might be less slippage if instead of GUSD you opt for DAI. I believe Gemini supports DAI. But same process there. So DAI or GUSD, you swap on Curve to MIM. MIM, AnySwap, you could go to any chain you want. And then the transaction fees are basically super duper cheap. Hope that helps. Booster, my man Captain Spell took a tumble. People blamed it on FTX listing. Any thoughts? Yeah, well, there was no market. There was no liquidity. The nature of an efficient market is you could bet to the upside and bet to the downside. So this is very interesting. I'm going to end probably on this note. This is a very interesting time. People see this as a took a tumble. FTX listing, people short and destroy assets. Spell's been around a bit. May of 21. But it's just the last week that a market for Spell has been turned on. Just the last week, the market is digesting what the heck this asset is. This is just starting. This is just the beginning. This didn't exist. Was a tool, date tool. This is nothing. This was 134 days of technological innovation, then building software, liquidity on DEXs. It's not liquidity. It's not trading. FTX is trading. Binance is trading. Futures markets. Once you get liquidity and capital flow and velocity, that's when really an asset that's when the market really finds out what an asset is. So this is just the beginning. But this is the volatility of the crypto space, boys and girls, and this is what people aren't prepared for. You know, you bought 10,000 worth of spell, you took a 50% hit on your money, you're probably overwhelmed, filled with anxiety and fear. That's not easy. I watched 1.5 million evaporate with this dip. Food for thought. Poof. Right into nothingness. Um, but I've been in this game, and that's par for the course. Vlad, it really hard not to be an allocator when with how fast DeFi is evolving and growing in new opportunities. Well, you don't want to be a rotator, but you can be an allocator. You allocate to positions strategically with rational time horizons. I align myself more with an allocator. I'm definitely an incoomer. I love that shit. I really hope someone in the NFT space cranks out some high quality memes, because I would definitely pay for high quality memes in that regard. Um, Alan, thanks for your ask vids. Hope it helps. Keep them coming. I'll do the best I can. Depending on how popular it gets, I may have to may have to focus on premium stuff, because if I get like 50 questions a day, I don't think I'll be able to handle that just logistically. Crypto bets. I like being an incoomer. Oh yeah, we all have a meme identity. What are you? Yeah, I'm an incoomer and an allocator, investor, something like that. Macy J, have you heard about VEFXS trying to have its own convex? Well, I have an FXS, a VEFXS position. It's small, and it's, as I mentioned, it's one of my top six positions, and a couple percent of the portfolio turns to a big number. That's the payday. Doesn't need to be a big part of the portfolio. That puts a lot of burden when you allocate too much to a position. Watch those position sizes. Um, J.A. Shansky, Noah, are there any NFTs you're bullish on? Well, I have a very large NFT portfolio. I have never tried to sell an NFT. All right, fine. I've sold a couple of NFTs, but I haven't made any money. I like my NFTs. I bought my NFTs because I don't want to sell them. You got all these fast food burgers and stuff. Um, what's his name from Anthony Hurd is awesome. He keeps just airdropping these beauties. I had to buy this guy. This is literally the Colonel in ape form. That's so cool. I don't know what the fuck some of this stuff is. People just send me stuff at this point. I bought a couple of these hats. They're pretty cool. I bought this from Penelope. It's a heck of a animated NFT. I don't know. I love this stuff. Some of it's maybe not going to be valuable in the future, but whatever. This is cool stuff. I love these polymorphs. So I just like them. And this is probably my favorite, Misfit University. I love these guys. This is these are cool. So you buy stuff because you want them, not because you want to sell them. And I got all this Gods Unchained stuff. Last 2 years have been pretty fun. Whole lot of NFTs. Where's the questions? Let's wrap this up. I got to get to work, guys. Valkyrie BTC strategy ETF was approved pending listing. That's right. Um, Jomo, joy of missing out. JE4KA. Jomo. ZM Girl, keep up the good work. Crypto Beds, when meetup, inevitably. I like this. We got a heck of a community at this point. Kill us, lol. It's exactly how I see this space. So fascinating. The protocols are kingdoms, the devs are the kings, and the politicians are the ogres. Probably something worse than that, Hilda. Oh, yeah. Isn't it more likely that people took Spell Profit into BTC last night? Yes. But then they got a heck of a capital gains. They're going to have to pay their protection fees. Bye 30% of your profits. Umberto. A lot of the shit I say is kind of funny. I don't know. I like to laugh at myself. Mike Pye, you made it, and I'm wrapping up the stream with you, my friend. 93 people in the stream, 35 likes. Heck of a day. Get those likes up, boys and girls. It's all good. Friday, October 15, 12:36 p.m. As always, thank everyone for joining. Tell everyone to subscribe. After party on Discord. Get those Ask Vids in. I'm more than happy to help the best I can. noahsplays.askvid.co. I wish everyone a wonderful day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Peace.